Yeah.
What's good? It's your boy Jay, that's me. We're going to get into TNA Impact from April the 23rd, 2025. A pretty good show. This was the go-home show to Rebellion, and we are going to go over the predictions for Rebellion. So we kicked the show off with the first match of the night. The System. Oh my God. TNA, please stop pushing these clowns. They defeated the team of Trey Miguel and Ace Austin. So Moose ended up taking out Trey Miguel. He rammed his shoulder into the ring post, and then he also threw him hard on the barricade on the outside. So Trey Miguel was out that way. The finish came when Brian Myers got involved. He ended up hitting the roster cut, and then JDC ended up pinning Ace Austin, and then post-match, the System, they beat down both Ace Austin and Trey Miguel. Oh, boy. It is what it is. Who cares? Moving on. So, Masha Slamovich, she was backstage. She was talking about her issues with Tessa Blanchard. She says that she's not just ending her story. She says, I'm the reason no one's ever telling it again. So she continues to rant. Then we see clips of her in action. Same thing with Tessa Blanchard. So Tommy Dreamer, he shows up, and he approaches Masha, and he tells her, don't ever doubt yourself, because the fans don't either. Okay, that's fine. That makes sense. I am very excited for Masha Slamovich and Tessa Blanchard. I hope this is going to be a feud and not just a one-and-done type of match. This needs to be a feud. You started at Rebellion. You continue it at Slammiversary. No, you started at Rebellion. You continue it for the next following pay-per-view in June. I think that's against all odds. And then you maybe have Tessa go over at Slammiversary. That's just what I would do. Moving on. So we get a vignette in the AA, Alcohol Anonymous meeting with Mike Santana. So he says he's back to square one. He says Mike Santana's there. He says that he's woken up to stop running and face the demons. He says the great man once talked about hard times, talking about dusty roads. He talked about weakness and using it to create strength and pushing one forward. He talks about Mustafa Ali, who made his presence felt in this room. He said that weakness, a man who can't face the truth, and a man who runs. He says that Mustafa Ali is the true addict. And, as he's addicted to Mike Santana. Pause. But that was a good line there. That was a good line. Mike Santana says he looks at him who came from the bottom and will continue rising. He says that he's obsessed because he can't control what's meant to be. He says everything he does it to be the best. He says the definition of an addict is someone who can't admit that they have a problem. He says, at Rebellion, Ali comes face to face with a monster, the thing that he can't stand. He's going to have no choice. Mike Santana says that it's over, and he'll make sure of it. He says at Rebellion, he fights for him, he fights for her, meaning his daughter. He fights for everyone that hasn't made it to the room yet. He's going to keep fighting. Really good promo. I thoroughly enjoyed this. I am definitely excited for Mike Santana, Mustafa Ali 3. Falls Count Anywhere. That could be one of the matches of the night. I'm a fan of both guys. I truly am. I wouldn't be shocked that maybe sometime in 2026, next year, maybe TNA will end up putting the world title on Mike Santana, because they have pushed him pretty big this year so far. So they've done some really good stuff with Josh. I mean, my bad, with Mike Santana. They've done some stuff. They've done some real good stuff with him. Moving on. So Heather by Elegance, she's backstage with Maggie Lee, and the personal concierge George Iceman. So she FaceTimes Ash by Elegance. Ash calls her incompetent. They now have a 25% chance of winning, and they don't even have to be pinned to lose their titles. The personal concierge says they'll do anything in their power not to lose the belts by any means necessary. Good shit there. I like this. So, good stuff. Moving on. So, JC Jane defeats Rosemary. And then, post-match, the rest of Fatal Influence, they attack Rosemary. And then Lei Ling Ling, a.k.a. Xia Li, she comes out, and Xia Brooks out as well. They come out to make the save. And then Santina Morella makes a 6-woman tag at Rebellion. Okay, cool. Good stuff. Good shit. Moving on. We then go into the Hardy compound segment, which was really good. So the Nemeth brothers, they're driving. They're confronted by Willow. He welcomes them to the compound. So they begin to brawl. It's Ryan Nemeth and Jeff Hardy. No, it's Dolph Ziggler and Jeff Hardy. Dolph Ziggler ends up taking out Jeff Hardy. He does a back body drop through a couple of tables that were in the Hardy compound yard off of a truck. I'm like, damn, that's gotta hurt. So and there's some more stuff that goes on. So Ryan, he enters the Hardy home. He sits on he sits in the private theater. So we go back to black and white. It's a silent film called Maxwell the Great. So Ryan's wearing a singlet, and then Maxwell hits a drop kick and wins. So Ryan then talks to Wolfgang, who's basically his psychiatrist, which is kind of funny. Good stuff there. So then Ryan said that he would ride a bike and fall down a lot, and his parents wouldn't care. Wolfgang asked if he ever hugged his parents, and Ryan said he never did. So then he's turned into a goth person with black hair, which is kind of funny. And he has a roast with Matt's son, Barty. Barty asked if he wanted to hear a joke. Ryan says, yeah, and then Barty says his career. So then the fans, they boo Ryan. They throw eggs at him. Matt Hardy pulls Ryan out the water. Nick Nemeth shows up with the tag titles. And Matt chases him. So he attacks Nick, but Ryan attacks Matt from behind. But the Nero reappears, and Ryan and Nick, they leave with the belts. Okay, pretty good stuff there. I wish that was the closing segment of the show, but it was not. The Hardy compound segment was great. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I honestly thought they were going to end the show like that, but they didn't for whatever reason. But nonetheless, it was a really good segment. It went about a good, I'd say 12 to 15 minutes. So, yeah. But good stuff overall. Good stuff overall. Moving on. So this leads us into a backstage segment with Trey Miguel and Ace Austin. So they're backstage. Trey, he's pissed off and irate. Trey says that he's not going to deal with Wesley, so that's out of the question. And Zachary Wentz is hurt. He can't deal with Zachary Wentz. He can't call him, for whatever reason. Ace Austin says he can't call Chris Bay. And then Trey Miguel says he knows somebody that he can call. He shows his phone to the camera, and it says Sean Waltman. And I'm like, oh my God, no. But it is what it is. Who really cares at this point? It's not really going to matter. So yeah, there's that. Moving on. Tessa Blanchard defeated a jobber by the name of Missa Kate. Okay, that's cool there. She wins via the buzzsaw. Alright. Post-match, Masha Slamovich shows up and she hits the snowplow on Tessa Blanchard. Really good stuff there. Excellent stuff. Really good shit. Moving on. Actually, no. So, Masha wants some more of Tessa, but security, they pull Masha away. Masha's able to punch one of them in the face, and then Tessa escapes from the ring, and then Tessa and Masha stare at each other. Okay, so that's pretty cool. Interesting stuff there, I guess. Can't wait for that. What I am tired of, though, is TNA trying to push Eric Young and Steve Maclin. So, we get a vignette with Steve Maclin in front of a bonfire, and he's writing in a notebook. So Eric Young says, if it wasn't Eric, then it should be Steve Maclin. Steve Maclin says the same for Eric. Eric Young says they'll do it again on Sunday. Steve Maclin says it'll be for his international championship. Steve Maclin says he'll see Eric in L.A. Eric Young picks up Maclin's notebook and throws it in the fire. And then he makes an evil comment, and that was it. Who cares about this shit? Again, can TNA please get rid of both Eric Young and Steve Maclin? Steve Maclin could be something if he had a personality, but he does not. He's void of that. That's just the truth. Main event of the evening, Joe Hendry and Elijah, they defeat Frankie Kazarian and Ethan Page. Okay, that's fine there. And that was the show. So, pretty okay go-home show. I thoroughly enjoyed most of the stuff on the show. The main event was all right. I definitely liked the Hardy Compound segment. That was great. So, I also like the Ash by Elegance stuff as well. That was great. So, the Elegance brand, they've got trouble in paradise to an extent. Okay. All right, let's get into predictions for Rebellion. So, it's going to be taking place at the Garden Center in Los Angeles, California. I don't know how big the venue is. I don't know. I don't know how many people it could fit. Actually, no. So, for a basketball game, you could fit 10K people. And for ice hockey, you could fit 8,500. Okay, that's pretty good. So, I'd imagine maybe this is probably going to have between 3,000 and 4,000 people out for it. So, that should be interesting. We have 9 matches on the card. All right. So, I'm actually quite excited for Rebellion. I really am. Steve Maclin versus Eric Young for the TNA International Championship. I think they're going to end up having Eric Young win. I don't really care about this shit. Moving on. Next, the Fatal 4-Way for the TNA Knockouts World Tag Team Championships. The Elegance brand, which is Ash and Heather by Elegance. The Metaphor, Jakar Jackson, Last Legend. Spitfire, Danny Luna, and Jody Threat versus Chemical X, G.D. Dolan, and Tatum Paxley. I'm thinking here that it's either going to be the Metaphor girls or it's going to be Chemical X to win. It's going to be one of those two. I like the Elegance brand. I do. But I really want TNA and NXT to start switching belts. At least some of the lower tier belts. And I think if we switch those to either the Metaphor or Chemical X, we can get that rolling that way. But I'm going to go with, like I say, either those are my 2 picks. So, there's that. Moving on. So, Ultimate X for the TNA X Division Championship. Moose versus Casey Navarra versus Leon Slater versus Matt Cardona versus El Hijo del Vikingo versus Sydney Akeem, a.k.a. Reggie. Reggie ended up getting added to the match after Unbreakable. So I guess they had an exclusive interview, backstage segment that took place there, and then Santana Marella knew that he got screwed out of beating Moose at Unbreakable, so he ended up adding him as the final guy in the match, so the final participant. So that's fine, I guess. Who do I think wins this? As you guys know, I'm not a fan of Moose, but I'm thinking either Vikingo, since they're actually doing something with NXT, since AAA is now owned by NXT. They could do Vikingo, or they could end up doing Leon Slater. But I'm pretty sure they'll probably have Moose retain. So obviously, I'm pretty sure Moose is going to retain. But who I hope does win is either Vikingo or Leon Slater. One of those two. All right, moving on. The 6-woman tag match. Fatal Influence, JT Jane Fallon Henley, and Jasmine Nix. That trio has had a little bit of trouble in Paradise as of late. Versus Rosemary, Xia Li, and Xia Brookside. I would imagine it's probably going to be the TNA girls who win. It makes the most sense. You might as well just continue the Fatal Influence breakup story. Just continue that. That makes the most sense, in my opinion. Moving on. Match I'm looking forward to. Mike Santana versus Mustafa Ali. Falls Count Anywhere. Clearly, Mike Santana needs to win this. He's probably the third largest babyface in the company. Number 1 is Joe Hendry. Number 2 is Elijah. Number 3 is Mike Santana. So I imagine Mike Santana is going to end up winning. Makes the most sense. Maybe you have him go after Eric Young for a brief moment and win the TNA International Championship. So maybe that might be next in his foreseeable future for Mike Santana. So yeah, there's that. Moving on, another match that I'm kind of excited for, that is for the TNA World Tag Team Championships. The Hardyz, Matt and Jeff Hardy versus the Nemeth brothers, Ryan and Nick Nemeth. The Hardys are going to retain. Why wouldn't they? Okay, moving on. Another match I'm looking forward to. Masha Slamovich versus Tessa Blanchard for the TNA Knockouts World Championship. Masha Slamovich needs to retain. She has to. Then you do the rematch. I would not do it in May at all. I would do it in June. I think June is against all odds. You have their match there. That's match number 2. You have Masha win that one. And then at Slammiversary, you do Masha and Tessa 3. And that's when Tessa wins the title, is at Slammiversary. So that's what I would do. Hopefully they go down that path, because that makes the most sense. And I would want Masha to lose really at TNA's second biggest pay-per-view of the year. Because their biggest pay-per-view of the year is obviously Bound for Glory. That's their WrestleMania. And their SummerSlam is basically Slammiversary. That's their version of SummerSlam, basically. So, yeah. So, that's what I would do. So, I'm saying that Masha Slamovich is going to retain. Then we have Elijah doing an open challenge. I don't know who can answer it. It might be someone from NXT. So that's a possibility. You could bring someone new in. Maybe. You could bring in one of the new international talents that TNA ended up signing. They ended up signing not 1, not 2, but 3 international talents. So it could be one of those 3. You could potentially bring back Austin Aries. I heard that they're going to end up bringing him back eventually. So maybe it's him. So I don't know. So I have to wait and see how that all plays out. But who wins? Probably Elijah. Moving on. Triple threat for the TNA World Heavyweight Championship. And thankfully that this match is going to be Frankie Kazarian's Call Your Shot Gauntlet Championship match. So at least he's already added, so there's that. Joe Hendry needs to win this. Why? It's because they're beginning to advertise for the Massive Worlds Collide show involving TNA, NXT, and AAA. So you have to make this the biggest show you can. Frankie Kazarian winning would completely suck. It's time for him to move on. And we know Ethan Page is not going to win. So I think it makes the most sense to have Joe Hendry retain, because you want TNA to be important and on par with NXT. All right? Joe Hendry is massively over. The guy just competed at WrestleMania. The guy was in the Rumble. He's already had a phenomenal 2025 already. And we're only just 4 months in. So, there's that. But hopefully we also get some surprises at Rebellion as well. I'm hoping that's what they end up doing. We end up getting some surprises. Like, we need some new faces on this show, and hopefully they show up at Rebellion. Again, I'm hoping we get maybe like a Lacey Evans or a Mandy Rose. For the men, maybe like a Cedric Alexander or something like that, but he's probably going to go to AEW more than likely. So, I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm going to go with the predictions one more time. Rosemary, Zaya Brookside, and Zia Lee, they are going to win against Fatal Influence. Moose is going to retain the X Division Championship, even though I want it to be either Vikingo or Leon Slater. Mike Santana is going to defeat Mustafa Ali. Either the Metaphor or Chemical X, they're going to win the TNA Tag Team Championships. Eric Young is going to defeat Steve Macklin to become the new International Champion. The Hardyz are going to retain their titles against the Nemeth brothers. Masha is going to retain against Tessa Blanchard. And Elijah is going to beat whoever shows up, whoever that could be. And then Joe Hendry is going to end up retaining in the triple threat. So, what did you guys think of TNA Impact? And what are your predictions for Rebellion? Like, comment, subscribe. Peace.